Yeah.
Good.
Credits.
Just.
It's great.
Good.
Yeah. Good.
Good.
Afternoon all, I'm Sam, and I feel privileged to be one of Cal's best men today. Cal's been my best mate since we were 11, we were in secondary school together. Although it wasn't love at first sight, I recall standing outside Woolworths with James back in the day, when we had a tame chin of football rivalry. Cal was wandering over and I turned to JB and asked, "Why are you mates with him?" And I'm still asking myself the same question today. From then on, we were inseparable, and if Cal wasn't round mine, I'll be round Joe's. It was like a second home. Thanks to Joe for always having me. Cal lives a couple of doors down from me now. It was not planned, I promise. Even now, we still see each other most days, but it's more running and gym than anything exciting. In our 25 years of friendship, I only recall us having one brief fallout when we were 16 at a party in Townsy. We had a little scuffle, for some reason I can't remember exactly why. Cal then turned up at my house the next day with a 50-cent get rich or die trying EVG to apologise. He's offering I couldn't refuse.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mark, and I'm one of the other best men. A few people have told me today that the speeches are one of their most anticipated parts of the wedding together. We attended primary and secondary school, and whilst I turned out alright, Cal remains intellectually challenged. Whilst he isn't the brightest of sparks, that's okay, because he now works in sales, which is fortunate for him because, as I'm sure you can all agree, he chats a lot of shit.
And last of all, I'm James. Together we've wrapped up nearly 90 years of friendship with Cal, spanning from the first year of primary school to watching marry the love of his life. We all know Alex is beautiful today, but Cal has always been the one that loves the limelight and being the centre of attention. My first experience of this was seeing Joe and the family on GMTV, with Cal appearing in a full Power Ranger suit, taking the centre stage, doing Power Ranger moves for the nation. And I'm sure if you ask him nicely, he won't mind recreating them later for you.
Cal's had a few jobs in his time, but always quite exciting jobs, such as working with batteries and transformers. Fortunately, I have to hear about them most weeks. But one he was particularly good at, and undoubtedly his greatest achievement in life, was when he worked at Burger King in Tenny. He entered the competition and became the second fastest waffle maker in the UK. Not getting that first place just keeps him awake at night, all because he didn't get the right amount of lettuce in his burger.
Out of all of us here today, I'm going to suggest that Cal is the person who is most lacking in common sense. He frequently requires help with the simplest of tasks. As an example, he doesn't know how to work a clothes horse. Just last week, he spent 3 hours assembling a 2-burner gas barbecue. I can only conclude that Cal's brain is wired differently to the rest of ours. Cal would ask, "What channel's the football on, mate?" It's 3 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon, Cal. None of the games are on the telly. Cal would also ask, "So who's going through on away goals?" To which we would respond, "Away goals haven't been a thing in the Champions League, Cal, for the last 4 years."
Cal, it hasn't gone unnoticed, just still awake, mate. So I want to congratulate you on making it this high day without falling asleep. You know it's a massive achievement for you. Well done, mate. Case in point, Mark's stag do. We were all having a good time when Cal decided to take himself off to the little boys' room. The rest of us carried on, and eventually it came time to leave, but Cal was nowhere to be found. Naturally, we assumed he snuck back to the hotel after growing up in the sensible man we all know him to be. But a few hours later, there he was, walking into the hotel bar, laughing and looking a bit worse for wear. Turns out, he had fallen asleep in the cubicle, only to be woken up by angry bar staff with his pants around his ankles.
He has tried his hand at quite a few sports too. although let's just say his techniques are always questionable. With a football, he's well known for his famous toe pun, and you never quite know what Cal's going to do with the football when he's running with it. He's unpredictable. I'm not sure if it's skill or the lack of it. He did try rollerblading and skateboarding at one point too, which I must say, he was pretty terrible at. Sorry about it. I remember one incident where he tried to go down the ramp on his rollerblades, caught his front wheels at the bottom and plunged his head straight into the concrete, and ended up with a huge egg-shaped lump on his head, which made his forehead even bigger than it already is.
Growing up, we spent a lot of time at Piccadilly Churchill Crescent. When you visited, you weren't expected to knock on the front door. You were summoned in through the porch and into the kitchen. Without fail, Joe or Cal were in the kitchen busy making the teas. Joe, you've done an amazing job of raising 4 beautiful children. Thank you also for the part you played in all 3 of our lives growing up. This was back in the day of the landlines, and we didn't have mobile phones. Cal had a unique way of answering the house phone. 2-1-1 when the crew speaking, please. Growing up in a house of 4 other women has made Cal a metrosexual man. He takes pride in his appearance, getting his eyebrows waxed regularly. But he did have some suspect clothing choices growing up, wearing a very deep V-cut t-shirt and rosary beads around his neck. Cal was also blessed with a forehead, which is now a 5 head, and is turning into, well, you can't hold on to that very much longer. I know, I'm not one to talk.
Sit down.
Cal spent years trying to woo Alex, but at the time it never seemed to line up. So this is either a beautiful story of soulmates, or the most persistent success story of all time. Either way, it definitely proves the old saying, if at first you don't succeed, try and try again. Although in Cal's case, it was more like try again. Seeing things through is not something Cal's been known for. We've all seen him leave trips early, not finish his degree, and not to forget the abandonment of his boxing career and not for his first fight. But one thing he's managed to see through, Alex. I think we've all known deep down it was always Alex with Cal, and today we stand here proud of him and finally seeing through the one thing that truly matters. That's building a life with his son and wife Alex and creating a beautiful family together. So we can all raise our glasses and toast the bride and groom and to seeing things through. Cheers.
Well done.
Excellent. This is the one so bad. Anyone else?